Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Institute of Advanced Studies. I'm Ksenia Chmutin, I'm the director of the IIS, and I'd like to welcome you all in the room today and those of you online for yet another exciting seminar. We're really delighted to welcome Dr. Yoel Asseraf and Professor Kalanit Efrat today with us, who will be talking about manifesting Chutzpah in business. I hope I pronounced it right. I've been practicing so much. Just a few words about the IIS. IIS is the hub at Loughborough University that brings together really exciting collaborations on all sorts of research. And it's great to have a place where people can meet and talk to each other and really find, hopefully, collaboration and opportunities for cross-disciplinary discussions and conversations and debates. So thank you for joining us. And without any further ado, I'd like to pass to Professor Alan Chasson. Yeah, very good. To introduce our speakers. We will have time for Q&A at the end. So for those of you online, please post your questions in the Q&A section and we will manage that. So
well, thank you very much. Before I start, can I just thank the Institute for Advanced Studies for hosting my guests, Kalanit and Yoel. It's been a pleasure really to have them here at Loughborough, and it's such a nice environment as well in here to host them. So thank you so much for the opportunity. So Kalanit Efrat here to my right, she's a professor of international business and entrepreneurship at the University of Agder in Norway. I've known Kala since 2012. We started working there when you came for a visit to Loughborough, and we've been working together ever since. She is going to tell you the story of how the project on Chutzpah was actually born when she first came to Loughborough. So I won't say anything about that. I'll let her tell you about this. We now, after, I don't know how many years now, it's been 12, 13 years, we've got 5 publications together in quite a few different areas, such as co-opetition, Chutzpah, of course, information use, dynamic capability. Obviously, the project today is about Chutzpah. I'd also like to introduce Yoel Asseraf, who is head of MBA and a specialist in IB and strategy at Brooklyn Academic Center. I've known Yoel since 2015. We met in a little bit more exotic location than Loughborough. Apologise for Loughborough is here. We met in Bari in Italy. I think around the piano, if I remember. Yeah. And we haven't started working together for, we just started now working together, but we've known each other for a while. He reminded me today, I've forgotten this, that I was the associate editor for EJM that published his first paper in 2016. And I really honestly had forgotten until today, so it was a nice reminder. So yes, I think you will then cover the second part of the presentation. So I think I will hand over to Carla, who will begin the first part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. And I was told to stand here, so I'm going to stand here. It's a great pleasure to come back to Loughborough. I was here at the beginning of my career. Usually Israelis have late bloomers. We have the army, and then we have stuff to do like business, working, and so on, and family. And then remember that we like academia and we want to do some extra work, maybe have a PhD. So both Yoel and I are sharing a similar, maybe, story. So I was here, and I didn't know Anne before. I just landed in her office and said, okay, this is me, let's work together. And she took me on a drive, back from Halloween experience, which for me was very weird because we don't have Halloween as a very negative experience. Usually we have a different holiday where people try to make you laugh, not screaming and trying to run away from. So we were driving back, and Anne was trying to calm me down after the experience, asking me, what makes the high-tech industry of Israel so unique? And I said, well, during my PhD, I was interviewing many managers, and they all pretty much came forward with 3 issues. So they said, Israelis have no end of working day, that there is no such concept. You work until the project ends, and then you start a new one. So we are addicted to work. The army is a very significant factor in providing a lot of capable people. The industries are enjoying the existence of the army, And the third issue was Chutzpah. And Anne asked, what is Chutzpah? And I said, well, it's difficult to explain, and I'm currently still trying to recover from the experience of Halloween. Let's
She
put
was
it
genuinely
aside.
terrified.
I
I've never
was.
seen
I was
a
screaming.
grown adult scream and run away from taking children away.
Nobody told me that part of the experience of being in England would be to walk around in the woods while spiders fall on your hair and people jumping out of all places. And yeah, really, I mean, my nerves are not that strong. I came back the next morning finding this lady in front of the computer doing research on what is chutzpah. And she said, well, even Google is not completely acknowledging the term or finding a definition for chutzpah. And I said, well, let's ask the old Jews, because they know it all. So chutzpah originally comes from Yiddish. Yiddish is a version of German that was created by Jewish communities living in Eastern Europe long before the Second World War. And chutzpah is something that we all know in Israel what it is, but nobody dares to define it. So we said, let's define it. And the first study then came to life. What did I do? No, I'm not that.
Right.
Oh. Perfect. The first study came to life trying to understand what chutzpah is. And if you look at this cat, I think chutzpah for him means daring to intimidate the bigger animal and managing to do it. We then thought about the industry that maybe has the strongest manifestation of chutzpah, and we thought about advertising industry. And I would, yeah.
Chutzpah is a quality which means that you simply have either cojones, okay, in Spanish, or you have the ability to take risk, okay, to really go for it.
It's kind of the mix of being fearless on one hand, and also have the guts to just strive for what you're looking for.
Point is daring to do things, and mostly daring to say things without too much thinking. Say first and think later.
Some people think of it as rudeness, because chutzpah can also be saying something out of line, because as I said, it's courage in doing something unpredictable and unexpectable and unbelievable. But in the field of startup, chutzpah means thinking of an idea that is unbelievable, unpredictable, and doing anything you can in the world to make that idea come true and for it to actually happen.
The first thing you say is, of course I can do it. And then you start thinking, maybe I should really think how. And then you start going directions where other people didn't go because they didn't commit.
Don't be shy. Go approach and take what you're looking for. Be upfront and direct, and sometimes a little bit blunt. We have this, we're blunt, but it also allows you to overcome problems, issues, and get what you're looking for.
Chutzpah, it's a very Israeli attitude, and it's very implemented in the Israeli culture. And you can see the Israeli entrepreneurs with this attitude every place in the world.
I would say when you talk about chutzpah, it's important to think about the other side of it, which is chutzpah enable societies. Okay, that is a society in which you can have chutzpah that is comfortable with people challenging the norm. I think that is an important attribute, because a person cannot have chutzpah on his own. Right? He has to be in a society that enables that.
So we moved forward with trying to understand what chutzpah is. And we had an additional researcher joining us, Peter, and adding to the discussions and the brainstorming. So we try to look into Chutzpah in the advertising industry, and we did 4 studies. Looking, I think I have it here, so in a minute, it's easier to demonstrate than to define. One manager told me that Chutzpah is promising to do something, knowing that you cannot deliver, not what you promised and not on time. And when the time comes, you explain to the customer why what you are actually giving them is better than what you promised to give them. So that was a chutzpah for him, and that apparently it works. Chutzpah is generally associated with pushing boundaries, acting outside the box, and not following the norms. Solutions to be expanded and objectives to be achieved. Bear in mind, Israel is a very short-term culture. We plan for the next 5 minutes. Nobody knows what will happen on minute 6. So we have to achieve as much as we can, moving forward constantly. Making things happen, creating new ways of thinking. And then we did 4 studies, 2 qual, 2 quant, 1 with managers in each type, and the other one with customers, with audience. The main findings we came up with, and that was due to the tremendous contribution of Peter doing the analysis and trying to compare. We came out with 3 distinctive aspects of dimensions of Chutzpah, which is novelty, audacity, and norm violation. All 3 need to be there in order for Chutzpah to be Chutzpah. Advertising effectiveness appears highest at lowest levels of audacity, but still it has to be in. We cannot take it out of the concept. Novelty is crucial for advertising effectiveness, and sorry, Chutzpah. Wait. And that sort of served as a first base for hopefully a long track of maybe publications, hopefully. Yoel will be discussing the next step in a minute. That was published in JBR, and we are very proud of it. And what I want to show you now is an advert that was a campaign that was shown in Israel on TV in 1993, which is, I think, the second year that we had commercials on TV. It was very new, very innovative in terms of what it shows. Bear in mind, 1993, Me Too was not even conceptualized, not let alone with us. And this is
when you were here before, couldn't look you in the eye. You're just like an angel. You're so fucking special. But I'm a creep.
עכשיו בקסטרו, חגיגת חנוכה.
That's Chutzpah. That's everything together. And most of the managers we talk to refer to this commercial as Chutzpadik commercial. And now I'm
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
The Chutzpadik element is not the woman's reaction to what's happening, but it's what the advertising agency is depicting in general, right?
I think it's the way they sort of send a message: we are equal, we are allowed to behave in the same way without being judged.
So it is the woman being Chutzpadik, right?
It's the way she reacted to something that would otherwise be very rude, but she took it in the humor of it and reacted to it. I think when we look at that, someone told me that would never pass nowadays because Me Too and women and harassment. And I said, well, that's the first time I said to myself, okay, we are entitled, we are equal, we can do the same and not be judged, just like the man is not being judged. It's part of the gang and the others are laughing at the act. So that was concluding our...
Am I allowed a second question? Am I allowed another question?
Sorry.
I have a question.
Why is so many questions?
How was the advert received?
The reason, and thank you for this question, really, the reason we still remember it 20 years, 30 years after, and the fact that the managers refer to it means that it was a long-lasting effect. And this is what Chutzpah actually brings. The right amount of Chutzpah will allow us to remember the act long after. But when one of the dimensions is being too pronounced, too emphasized, maybe the whole balance will shift, and then we'll only create some kind of antagonizing effect rather than having the positive effect that we are looking for, which is the long-lasting memory. So, Chutzpah serves as a mean for differentiation. One of the managers actually said, Chutzpah for me is seeing a purple cow in a herd of black and white cows, not sheep, cows. The study focused on Israeli population for examining the concept. As he said, Israel is a very good place to check it, but is it the only place to check it, which is something that we'll discuss maybe later. Next stage should try and look into Chutzpah in an international context, and this leads us to the next stage, and I'm very honored to give the clicker to my colleague.
Okay.
Our colleague.
So nice to meet you all. First of all, thank you for Anne for inviting us and for all the people from the Institute. Okay. It's a real pleasure to be in Loughborough, a lovely city and a wonderful university. So we are very happy about it.
We love the campus.
Yeah. So the second paper, which is in preparation for International Business Review, is dealing with the Chutzpah and international business strategy. And paraphrasing the words of Katya, which some of you probably know, she researched marketing agility, and she said something like, we don't understand agility. So I saying we are not understanding what it is actually, Chutzpadik behavior, how to measure it carefully, how it relates to international performance. And we don't know what are the right drivers and the consequences of this thing called Chutzpah. And this led us to the next research. But before the next research, I want to make sure that Israelis are not the only Chutzpadik people on planet Earth. Also, some people, British people, like the famous Sir Paul McCartney, has a kind of a musical chutzpah. And I will try to demonstrate it to you. So Paul McCartney, you probably heard that he just found his lost Offner bass, the legendary bass of Paul McCartney. And Chutzpadik behavior is all around, across nation, across culture, across industries. This is our belief. And in the music industry, Paul McCartney actually is a good example to a bass player which was a Chutzpadik, okay, or which act in a Chutzpadik way. And Paul created some of the most famous bass line in the music, in the rock or pop music history, like Lovely Rita, that you probably know, came to come together and so on. And the fact that he was able to write such a wonderful melody bass line it is because he did it in a different way than the conventional bass player. Okay, the norm in the pop music is usually to record the drum and then the bass and then maybe the piano, the guitar, and then the orchestra. This is the norm. Okay, so usually the bass player is recording his role at the beginning of the session. Okay, what Paul did, he always waited until the drum and the guitar and the orchestra, everything was set there. And once he had all this kind of information, he could use it, and it allowed him to be much freer and to express creativity, and in a sense to be a chutzpadik in the baseline melodies that he invented. And sometimes it's really a counter bass melodies, counter to the main melody. And we call it a market-oriented approach. We have a huge debate whether is it a market-driven or market-driving approach. We will fight on it.
We disagree.
Yeah, we will fight on it later. But I want you to feel it, not just read the words. So can you hear something in the way he moves the bass, not she? So imagine to yourself the song Something, and now how a regular conventional bass player will go and will perform the bass. Probably it will be something like this. I need to operate it, great. Okay, so something, okay. Here's the bass. It's an excellent bass player, it's me, but it's not from the car. Quite boring, but all of the right notes are there. Okay, now you want to hear a Chutzpadik bass line, okay? If some of you know how to read musical notes, you can see even the line there. And now again, you know the song, try to concentrate on the bass line. It's a magnificent melody, kind of a Chutzpadik melody. So what Paul did, he did not just play the bass, he actually responded, underlining the responsiveness act, to the musical world around him. So once he had all this information, he could respond and be creative. It's actually typical to jazz players. I mean, people think the jazz player, like the legendary Miles Davis, they just come and play whatever they want. But this is not the case. A good jazz player needs to have lots of information. You need to know hundreds of composition, the real book or the standard book, as we call it, and only then he can improvise. So Paul McCartney again waited for the information and then react on it, and it was kind of a Chutzpadik behavior. So Chutzpah actually joined the international marketing or international business party of new phenomena or new behaviors or new capabilities or new resources that are above what we had in the past and we still need today, which is planning. So starting with strategic flexibility before many years, then we went to export. Yesterday we had a great dinner with Mr. Cadogan. So export flexibility, improvisation, export improvisation, spontaneity, everything is related, connected, and more recently, marketing agility and even agile mindset. So we think that Chutzpah, it's a kind of a behavior, kind of a strategic orientation. We are not 100% sure what it is, but it is belonging to this family of constructs. So we aim to provide a deeper understanding of how Chutzpadik behavior operates, and our purpose was to couple together the Chutzpadik behavior and the export market orientation, and we were interested in market-driven and market-driving. I will show it immediately. We ran 3 studies, one qualitative phase. I will not go deep into it. With 27 senior managers, just to understand better what it is Chutzpah, advancing the fourth paper. And then in the first quantitative model, actually we built a market-driven model with 161 managers. And in the second model, we put Chutzpah or Chutzpadik behavior as a mediator, you will see in a market-driving model. So what it is market-driven and market-driving, the legendary Jaworski, Coley, and Shai, which is always neglected, they talked about market-driven and market-driving. Basically, market-driven, it's more about learning, understanding, responding, and at the end, these kind of companies or managers, they are adapting themselves to the market, okay? So they learn the market, they learn the competition and so on, and then they are adapting themselves, try to fit themselves in a way that will suit the customer needs and the different action of the competitors. In contrast, market driving firms or managers are looking to change the market, to set new standards in the market, and they really don't care so much as the market-driven managers about the competitors and so on. These people are looking to shape the market, okay? So both of them are market-oriented, I will say, behaviors, but it leads to a different kind of activity, and we wanted to test the role of Chutzpah against these two models. And we did the research in Israel, and Israeli are Chutzpadik, as you're probably aware, and this is type of countries around the world in terms of population, okay? So Israelis think that everywhere they will go, they will change the world, but sometimes they forget their proportion of their size to the other country. So the yellow one is, example of Israel size versus India, versus China, and all this kind of country. And this is why sometimes with all the chutzpah, we have a quite high rate of failure with startups, for example, where we are quite known for. And another thing is that Israel is really heavily dependent on international business, international marketing, because practically we are kind of an artificial island, okay? So if we want to sell something, we need to do it with international business, logistics, and so on activity. So we did this research in Israel, and these are the two models. The first model is Chutzpah market-driven orientation. So basically, you can see information generation, information dissemination, which they are belonging to the market orientation, strategic orientation, and these are environment variables leading to responsiveness, leading to Chutzpadik export behavior, and the model is complicated, so I will not show all the hypotheses, but basically what we wanted to test or investigate is how responsiveness to export information mediates market orientation to customer satisfaction and export performance, okay? So this is the first thing, the mediated role of responsiveness. And the second thing, of course, is how Chutzpadik behavior directly impact or do not impact export performance, and how it mediates responsiveness to the other outcome, okay? So this is the first model. This is the market-driven model, okay? Market information, we are getting information, we are responding to it, we are adding Chutzpah, and we hope to succeed with that. The second model is the market-driving orientation. And here we take elements of the entrepreneurial orientation, okay, which is a competing strategic orientation to market orientation, and we had some related construct like tolerance for failure. And again, I mean, in the same spirit, we wanted to test the mediating role of the export innovation between entrepreneurial orientation and Chutzpadik export behavior, and we wanted to see or to measure how Chutzpadik behavior will impact directly export performance and how it will mediate the export innovation intensity. So these are the two models, quite complicated, and I will lead you immediately to the results because we have time. We have 15 minutes? Okay, great. Okay, so here are the results. Relationship between intelligence generation, dissemination, and competitive intensity, yes, indeed, were mediated by responsiveness. Okay, so responsiveness is mediator for three of these antecedents. Responsiveness, however, did not mediate the technological turbulence construct. So this is the first thing we notice. Second thing is that Chutzpadik export behavior mediate responsiveness and customer satisfaction. Okay, now let's take a look at the relationship. Maybe the first thing we are seeing here is the X, meaning the non-significance relationship between Chutzpadik export behavior and export performance, and we relate to it in the discussion. And you can see that the other relationships are quite strong, with nice P value. So yes, Chutzpadik export behavior is doing something, but it's not impacting directly international performance. Okay, so these are the results of the first model. The results of the second model are that yes, export innovation intensity mediate two of the antecedents, but not the other two. Okay, Chutzpadik export behavior did not mediate export innovation and export performance, meaning, okay, these are the relationship. Again, you can see a non-direct relationship between Chutzpadik export behavior and export performance. This is important. You can see that the impact of export innovation intensity, the direct on export performance, is quite strong. So we have these two models, and we are now trying to understand, okay, what it is Chutzpah about, how it is impacting firms in a market-driven versus market-driving strategy. So regarding the discussion, the first thing we notice is that Chutzpah did not impact international performance directly. It's not a shock, because we know from the literature that sometimes resources such as strategic orientation or mindsets do not impact directly performance. What you need is what the other scholars call, you need an action component, okay? So we have a mindset, we have a behavior, we have a strategic orientation, okay, which is called Chutzpah, but in order to it to be implemented well, we need another thing, okay? So for example, market orientation, most of the studies show that it do not impact directly performance, it go versus, for example, marketing capability, okay? So this is one thing. So we think that Chutzpah, it's a kind, as I said before, of soft resource. Christophe was talking about strategic flexibility and strategic agility, or orientation, or kind of a mindset, which is important, but it's, again, not the action component. In a business context, such behavior impacts our firm's interest and environment, prioritize resources allocation, represent the beliefs, but not lead to the final thing. Nevertheless, we saw in our results that Chutzpadik behavior is significant predictor of customer satisfaction. And as my colleague Kalanit like to say, customer satisfaction is a performance outcome by itself. So Chutzpadik behavior lead to some kind of export performance, but depends which kind of export performance. As you know, there are strategic performance, satisfaction performance, financial performance, and also customer performance is one kind of them. Okay, to continue the discussion, yes, we found that Chutzpah mediate the responsiveness, customer satisfaction, and, but did not mediate the innovative performance relationship in study 2. And we wanted to understand why in one model Chutzpah is a mediator, and in another model Chutzpah is not a mediator, okay? And this is, we think, is important. So at first glance, I think that you will agree with me that Chutzpah, which is about pushing boundaries, daring, non-violation, and so on, rule breaking, it appears that it's much more naturally in line with the market driving. with the market driving strategy, because market driving strategy, by definition, as I said, they want to change the market. They want to shape the market. So built in, you have a Chutzpadik behavior. At the same time, our explanation for the non-significant role of Chutzpah in the market driving model is that maybe it is because this alignment we found a non-significant relationship. Because market-driven field, almost by definition, they are challenging the status quo, the rules, the traditional way. Once you add Chutzpah into the game, it's almost add nothing. And in an analogy, we say that adding a black pepper to an already spicy meal might add nothing to this meal, okay? So you are adding Chutzpah, but we are already Chutzpadik, okay? So this is one explanation we have. We will be happy to hear your thought about it. And conversely, or in contrast, in market-driven firms, Chutzpah seems like a true benefits because it's promote daring, while these firms or this kind of manager are usually more conservative, okay? So the black pepper has now an effect on the meal that we are eating. So Chutzpah may be an effective spice in this case. And in another analogy, sorry for all the analogies, but it helps us to understand what we are dealing with. We take a look at Chutzpah as a kind of a turbo system. If you know, Audi has a turbo system, Volkswagen, all the German manufacturer like the turbo engine. So we say that the turbo system can improve the performance of the car, but it cannot replace the engine by itself. I mean, you need a platform, you need an engine, and then you are building a turbo system on it. So it reminds us one scholar, very important scholar called Souchon in France, okay, that in a paper with Katya, I think, if I remember right, they found that spontaneous decision-making in the presence of planning, which is the base, which is the platform, really leads to successful implementation of international marketing strategy. So Chutzpah, it's like a spice, it's like a turbo system that helps to promote the performance, okay? So it may be that these turbocharging behaviors such as Chutzpah, spontaneity, and improvisation give firms extra power when there is already a solid base like information, like planning, like experience, okay? And to sum up this session, which called Chutzpah Manifested in Business, I will quote the words of Michael Keaton from the lovely movie about McDonald's, the founder, and this is the quote: "I am looking for people with drive that got a little fire in their belly and got a little chutzpah." Thank you.